4 people give a restaurant a bad review on Google and you look for another place to eat, tens of thousands of people say they've been injured by vaccines and you keep taking your kids back for more. CDC is a vaccine company. 50% of CDC's budget goes to selling and promoting vaccines. CDC owns 57 vaccine patents and collects money on them. FDA gets 75% of its budget from the industry. FDA owns part of the Gardasil patent. It gets money every time somebody buys a $420 per shot series of Gardasil. The FDA makes money. Not only that, individuals with the FDA who worked on the patent get $150,000 per year in royalties, and these are the division chairs, powerful people in that agency. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Stop eating meat, dairy, fish and eggs. It's impossible, said pride. Others do it, said jealousy. It's pointless, said ignorance. I refuse to quit them, said anger. But they taste so good, said desire. Who cares about animals, said greed. Give it a try, whispered the heart, the Buddha, the vegan and you. Adrenochrome. A good reason to just drink beer. If you look at these 4 pictures, someone's lying. Sorry, but you've exceeded your allowable freedom by 3 inches. That'll be $2,000. I'm also going to need to shoot you, your dog and punch your wife. Perfectly healthy man dies after flu shot. Doctors admit to covering it up. 39-year-old Lindsay Day is said to have been perfectly fit and healthy just before he received immunisations for the flu and whooping cough. Just 3 days following the vaccines, the Sydney man passed away. The family is blaming the vaccines on his death and considering legal action. Day was given the vaccines as a prep for his stepdaughter's baby arrival. As in common practice, doctors recommend that all adults receive both a whooping cough and flu vaccine before handling a newborn baby. According to the autopsy obtained by 9 News, Day began experiencing cold and flu-like symptoms shortly after receiving the vaccine on April 28th. He took cold and flu tablets to treat his symptoms. However, Day's condition rapidly deteriorated over the course of the next 2 days. On day 3, Day attempted to go to work, but returned to his house and told his partner Vanessa that he was too sick to drive his car. Seconds later, Day expired, a seizure, and stopped breathing. Experienced a seizure. Judge lets another paedophile off with a complete suspended sentence. You know, paedophile, that's like raping of children and babies. So whenever a judge does this, that tells you what they are. Come the day of reckoning, which is coming soon, we know who all of them are. Yet again, so-called Judge Martin Nolan lets another paedophile off with a complete suspended sentence. Martin Gurin was found with 901 images and 146 videos with children as young as 2 years old, sexually assaulted, abused. Nolan said Martin Gurin being publicly shamed is enough of a punishment for this crime. The judge is not fit for his job with sentences like this. He also previously handed a full suspended sentence to a civil servant found with 60,000 images and videos of child pornography. He said civil servant Brendan Felon had been punished enough for the shame he brought on his family. Again, Judge Martin Nolan gave music teacher Peter Jennings a full suspended sentence after he was charged. So we know that Martin Nolan, supposedly a judge, is also one of them dirty, filthy child rapists, and that's why he does this sort of thing. Download the vaccine exemption form. Now, the link's in the description for this, but if you want to get the vaccine exemption form, I strongly suggest you get it here. Looking for a way to avoid both a vaccine injection and any further following legal threats? Here's a form to download and protect you against the damage. When you next feel forced by your child's school or GP MD to take them for a mandatory vaccination which is proven to be more harmful than good, here's the answer. As here we focus on the true test and switch the moral obligation back to the medical profession itself, as given the truth about the vaccinations and what they really can contain, are they willing to sign their name to its effectiveness and also take full liability? And I can tell you the answer to that. It will be a resounding no, because they know they're killing people, but they're getting paid for it, but they won't tell you that. Jeffrey Epstein's private banker found swinging from a rope before FBI questioned him. Jeffrey Epstein's private wealthy banker, who brokered and signed off on untold multi-millions of dollars in controversial Deutsche Bank and Citibank loans spanning 2 decades for the convicted paedophile, has died from a reported suicide. In other words, he's been suicided because they didn't want him speaking to the authorities. The news of yet another mysterious Epstein-linked death comes shortly after the FBI was seeking to interview the bank executive about loans he approved for Epstein and the indicated child trafficking labyrinth of US-based and offshore companies. Dear Boris Johnson, you failed this patient and your negligence contributed to his death. An open letter from Dr. Andrew Myerson, whistleblower, junior doctor. I am a junior doctor at the Worcestershire Royal Hospital, where on November 27th we faced tragedy in our overwhelmed A&E department. Our understaffed and underfunded hospital was so full of patients that we had 34 ambulances trapped in queues outside the emergency department who were unable to drop off their sick patients. Though through no fault of the paramedics, I can only imagine that they were feeling. One patient deteriorated so severely as we waited for more than an hour to come into the A&E that shortly after being moved from an ambulance to a trolley in a packed corridor, his heart stopped and he died. Mr. Johnson, can you please try and imagine for one moment working as an NHS paramedic, doctor or nurse in conditions so overstretched that 34 ambulances have to endure dangerous queues as a patient dies on a trolley as a result? Just stop for a moment, please, and think of the human consequences of your underfunding of the NHS. The brilliant doctors, nurses and paramedics involved in the patient's care did everything possible to save his life, but in emergency medicine, time is everything. Prime Minister, you failed this patient and your negligence contributed to his death. I'm sure everyone involved in the patient's care has apologised to the family for these tragic circumstances. But Mr. Johnson, if we have apologised, when will you? Mr. Johnson, you and your party have had nearly a decade to leave the health service in a better state than which you found it. By every objective metric, the Conservative Party has failed. They didn't deny healthcare to Nazi war criminals. They are denying healthcare to Julian Assange. Julian Assange may soon die if he does not change course. In an open letter, doctors from around the world have petitioned the UK Secretary to allow him urgent expert medical care. Even Nazi war criminals were allowed medical treatment after World War II before the Nuremberg trials. It is truly despicable that the British government denies life-saving medical treatment to an innocent man. And this is a petition on change.org. Go and sign it, get it over the 150. It's on about 128 at the moment. The agenda further unrolled in your face. Microchip your cat or face a fine. Government plans to introduce compulsory microchipping of felines as well as dogs to help combat pet theft. Bullshit. It's to get you used to your pets being microchips, and then they'll say, well, your pet's a microchip, so you might as well have it now then. And you go, oh yeah, no chance. And don't get your pets done either, because they die within 6 months. I've got experience of them dying within 6 months of them being chipped. The move could also help to identify pets which are injured or killed on roads. When policy came in for dogs in 2016, owners were fined up to $500 for failing to comply. This time, ministers want owners to microchip cats before they force them to. Cat owners who fail to have their pet microchip could be fined or prosecuted under rules being proposed by ministers. The government plans to introduce a compulsory microchipping for cats to subject them to the same safety measures that already apply to dogs. Bullshit. Ministers believe the move will help to combat cat theft and identify pets which are injured or killed on roads. It follows controversy after the policy came in for dogs in 2016 because owners were fined up to $500 for failing to comply. It's more of the agenda being pushed in your face and made out, as usual, to make out it's for your dog's or your cat's benefit. And since they've been done, you might as well be done as well now. That's the plan. That's what the frigging plan is. The Guardian. Australia burns as debate rages over PM's climate change stance. Death toll on the rise and thousands marooned in apocalyptic scenes. A lot of these fires have been done deliberately by the government to force those living in villages. This is why they're causing the drought as well, because they sold all the water off. They're causing drought to force you into cities so that they can easily control you when it comes to rounding you up. The Times. Sales of beef and pork plunge as Britons choose vegan diet. What a great headline. I don't eat red meat myself. The best way to kill pain, just do a good deed. Rape case teenager must be pardoned, Cyprus told. Pressure mounts on president amid calls for tourist boycott. Aye. The literary event of the decade. T.S. Eliot's intimate letter to nurse unveiled after 60 years. World's most famous fugitive, Beirut denies helping choose to escape Tokyo house arrest. Rail Rip-Off 2020 edition. Passengers are hit by 2.7% ticket price hike today despite plummeting satisfaction, poor punctuality and overcrowding. Fares have risen 46% in a decade, twice as fast as wages. Some journeys now costing more than £1 a mile. Commuters face another decade of misery, campaigners claim, as anger at state and UK rail networks grows. We need to get rid of the government and privatise everything back to our control, and it can never be sold again. The public should control it, and that way we don't need to make a profit. Therefore, the price will drop dramatically. Angela's Dishes. Hartnett on judging BBC's Best Home Cook with Mary Berry. Labour still in denial. Nandi Ray of Hope. Pontiff apologised for slapping woman's hand. We are Pinocchio as our leader. Brian Cox interview. Star of Succession of Power and Lies. Metro. 3BA crew die in New Year's Eve car crash. Revolt over latest rise in rail fares. Well, we should be revolting, but they think we are anyway. Daily Fail. Shock surge in child anorexia. Expert blames social media and celebrity diet culture as hospital admissions double in a decade. Mum of 3 murdered in her village home on New Year's Day. Express. New Year tragedy. BA aircraft die on way to party. Britain's economy to be boosted by 282,000 over 65. Job boom for older workers. Back on the menu, Mary's secret for best home cook. Mirror. Jonathan Ross face it. Cal Masked Singer in his TV gold. Family's heartbreak. Mum of 3 killed in New Year horror. PE teacher and lover found at her home. The scum. Exclusive. Faker and handyman lied and groom. Shannon kidnapped mum to marry. Nothing in the shit sheet so far. Absolutely nothing. And talking of shit sheets, waste of paper. That's not my blood. Flack lover blasts back to bed photo. Meatloaf goes vegan. Like a bat out of hell. The steak's gone, gone, gone. Popes pop at woman. FT. Any boost from election likely to fizzle out soon, economists warn. FT's annual survey finds gloomy outlook, no lasting recovery until trade deal agreed. Beirut saw return of Gosen days before long-planned exit from Japan. Google develops cancer diagnosis system via AI. Husband. Why are the defective condoms lying on the sofa? Wife. What? Where? Wife goes to find them and comes back angrily saying, I will kill you if you don't stop calling our children defective condoms. What are they celebrating? Their planet made a full circle around their star. I told you they are not intelligent. My wife asked me why I spoke so softly in the house. I said I was afraid Mark Zuckerberg was listening. She laughed. I laughed. Alexa laughed. Siri laughed. Take that, Facebook police. "2020 will be a new chapter in my family's life, and this book is getting very interesting, and you are in some of the very best chapters. Happy New Year from the Crawfords." In 2020, may we have the strength of this stool and the faith of this dog. This is a Facebook, more attacks from Facebook, anti-free speech bullshit. Additional reporting from PolitiFact. Sometimes different news sources show conflicting perspectives of the same story. You can take a look at additional reporting from independent fact-checking sites. Content that you shared has been fact-checked by PolitiFact. PolitiFact, no evidence to support the Clinton body count hoax. Rumours have smouldered online for years that the Clinton... So this is them trying to protect the Clintons. Yet again, Facebook reporting me apparently to a fact checker, because we know that their fact checkers always say that it's a load of bullshit whenever you tell any truth about them. And so that's why they're using that sort of shit.
Message from CAC. The world really needs to awaken to love. It really needs to respect people's place. It really needs to make peace. It really needs to create a balance. These level of frequencies. You don't need to go and kill because you need oil. You don't have to create circumstances because of power and greed, governments. You don't create those things at the expense of other people's lives. You don't create those things just to have more financial power, more greed and more control. It's a state now of sharing. You should share your global resources on this planetary game sphere. You should feed the hungry. You should love one another. You should respect and love everyone.